A script so twisted that even Hollywood screenwriters or the directors of Korean K-dramas would have to call them boss. The Black Widow and the trend of hunting for bargains among soldier husbands to snag the whole lot of their life insurance and death benefits in Part 1. A family feud between the mother, daughter-in-law, and the zombie father in Part 2. Imagine a scenario like this. You're a poor guy, single for ages, slowly rotting away in a village where only dogs eat rocks and chickens eat pebbles. Then, one fine day, a goddess pours out a passionate declaration of love. Before you can even figure out what's happening, boom, the mobilization order slams down. She rushes the wedding, faster than your ex-lover's sudden change of heart. You march off to the front with a heart blazing with the fire of love, believing someone is waiting for you on the home front. 4 months later, you get wiped out and back home. She checks her account chaching, with a sum equivalent to your entire lifetime of toil. She then uses it to buy a lotta and cruise the streets. Sounds ridiculous and totally fabricated, right? But no, this is the current grim reality in the land of the white birch right now. This is the Coffin Economy, the love scam and the chance to change your life. To begin this series, let's zoom in on a case considered the textbook example for the Easy Money course, Widow Edition. That is the story of Sergey and Alina. Our protagonist, Sergey, 40, an unremarkable man described as lonely, living on the margins of society. The kind of guy who in films would be the hazy background extra standing at the bar, no assets, no future. Our female lead, Alina, has an incredibly legit background, a clerk at the military recruitment office. This is a strategic position, holding sensitive information about who is about to be deployed. One day, the lightning bolt of love strikes, or perhaps the lightning bolt of the mobilization order strikes, and Alina and Sergey decide to marry. A rushed wedding takes place, needing no flowers, candles, or elaborate cakes. Just the marriage registration certificate. And exactly 1 day after the wedding, Sergey registers for military service. Yes, you heard that right. Before they could enjoy the honeymoon or warm the bedsheets, the groom packed his bags and left. Alina, as both the wife and the recruitment officer, probably provided enthusiastic support for this process, speeding up the paperwork faster than a Gen Z scrolling through TikTok. 4 months later, Sergey is killed in action in Ukraine, a sad end for a soldier. Yet it was the sound of a jackpot ringing for the one left behind. Just days after the funeral, before the grass had even turned green on the grave, Alina swiftly filed for compensation. A casual sum of only 13 million rubles, which is roughly $140,000. Yet, Alina wouldn't be able to gobble up the entire amount so easily. Sergey's family decided to check VAR. They dragged the widow to court and filed a complaint. Alina had never lived with Sergey. Her passport hadn't even been updated to reflect her marital status. When Sergey was injured and hospitalized the first time, Alina completely vanished without a trace, never bothering to ask about him once. Even more horrifying, while Sergey was bleeding out on the front lines, Alina was still living as husband and wife with another man. Alina used a combination of peak psychological manipulation and the information advantage from the recruitment office to execute a spectacular heist. The court later ruled it was a sham marriage. Remember, Sergey is just one of many victims of this trend. Alina was merely unlucky enough to get busted. How many other Alinas are getting away with it? We need to look broader. Sergey's case is not isolated. Immediately after the partial mobilization order was issued in September 2022, Russia witnessed a bizarre marriage boom. In the Urals region, weddings increased by 65% in 2 weeks. In the Far East, they rose by 60%. Siberia even had buses shuttling grooms directly from military bases to the registration office. Normally, Russian law requires couples to file 1 month in advance to test their love and think carefully. But in wartime, everything is fast-tracked. Just having a mobilization notice means you can get married immediately. No waiting, no party needed, just 15 minutes to sign and stamp the documents. So, what is the motivation? Of course, there is genuine love. Facing life and death, people want to formalize their relationship, to give their loved ones an official title. However, the economic incentive is undeniable and huge. One soldier said, "For me, when the world is collapsing, marriage is an anchor holding me back." With them, sensing that their time is short, they want to live fast. Yet for many others, marriage is a winning lottery ticket. A blogger named Anastasia warned about female gangs specializing in hunting down soldiers for marriage, operating even in the fiercely contested Lugansk region. They lay sweet traps, seduce lonely, frightened soldiers, and psychologically manipulate them into signing the marriage certificate to become the sole legal beneficiary. The price tag of sacrifice and the coffin economy. Why are people throwing ethics out the window to become a black widow? The answer lies in the compensation package offered by the government itself. In an economy crippled by sanctions, a death has suddenly become the most highly liquid asset. Let's dissect the itemized price list based on 2024 to 2025 data. I'll convert everything to USD so it's easier to grasp. For a soldier who gets wiped out, the basic package receives $55,000, plus state insurance of $33,000, depending on the wealth of the region where the serviceman lived. They can receive an additional $10,000 to $30,000 in aid. The total package clocks in at $130,000 to $150,000 in remote Russian villages. The average monthly salary is only about $300 to $400. To earn an amount equivalent to this death benefit, a man there would have to work tirelessly without eating or spending for about 25 to 30 years. This is the greatest tragedy. In the eyes of many impoverished families, the deceased is of greater economic value than the living. A living husband can be a burden if unemployed or addicted, yet a fallen soldier is a colossal fortune. The bitterness is palpable. Oh wait, there's more. If you're lucky enough to survive, assuming permanent lifelong disability, you get $30,000. If you have minor scratches that heal, you still pocket $10,000. Still quite the financial incentive. The cruel irony is that the death benefits are propping up the economies in poor regions. Data shows that consumer spending and bank deposits in the poorest regions of Russia, those with the highest mobilization rates, have surged. Dilapidated houses are being renovated. New cars flood the roads, all paid for by the sacrifice of men who will never return. It creates a perverse social dynamic. The neighbors see the house next door change its fortune thanks to coffin money and silently wonder if they should. Fire digging technology and the traps. The danger is that black widows don't operate alone. They have tactics, a proper blueprint. Groups abound on VKontakte, Russia's social network, Tinder, and military forums, actively hunting. The targets are soldiers posting photos in uniform, status updates, expressing loneliness, or those with complex family histories, orphans, divorcees. The tactic, a bombardment of affection. They text words of comfort, promise to wait, and send seductive photos, creating the illusion that I am your most stable home front. The deal closer. When the soldier is about to head to the front, or is on short leave, they deliver the final blow. Marry me, darling, so I can legally take care of you, look after you. The case of Alina I mentioned above demonstrates insider collusion. Civil registry and recruitment office staff provide lists of single men about to be mobilized, fast-tracking the marriage paperwork. In cases where the soldier dies, there are even rings that fake injury or death certificates to claim benefits. Some servicemen have even deliberately wounded their own legs or asked comrades to pull the trigger to get the 3 million rubles for injury compensation. This is a large-scale fraud industry. Another legal loophole is marriage in absentia, or online marriage. Although Russian law requires physical presence, in wartime, unit commanders have the authority to certify a soldier's signature on documents. Exploiting this, many women have colluded with corrupt commanders to forge marriage certificates that the soldier didn't even know about, or was forced to sign while drunk or disoriented. When the soldier dies, this paperwife suddenly appears to collect the money. Mother-in-law versus daughter-in-law, the return of the zombie dad. If you thought the drama ended with the wife taking the money and bolting, you are too naive. The real war begins when the money hits the account. This is when the spirit is torn apart by cash. In Russia, the soldier's mother and the soldier's wife are the two fiercest opposing forces when it comes to death benefits. The law stipulates the money is divided equally among the father, mother, wife, and children. Let me tell a typical story. A widow with a newborn child, her husband is gone, and the state refuses to pay, claiming the death was not congratulated, or that he is listed as missing. His mother had to wait for neighbors to donate money to buy a coffin. Yet when the widow went online to seek help, the toxic online community attacked her for having a baby she couldn't support. The mother-in-law's perspective: she's a vixen. She married my son 2 weeks ago and never cooked him a single meal. Now she wants 50% of my son's blood money. Many mothers have sued to prove the daughter-in-law is a black widow, that the marriage was fake. The daughter-in-law's perspective: the old woman is a greedy phony. She never raised her grandson, and now she sees the money and her eyes light up. But wait, that's not the ultimate plot twist. Fathers who abandoned their wives and children for decades, never paying a dime of child support, suddenly rise from the grave when they hear their son has died in combat. In one case, a father left his wife when his son was 3, taking the refrigerator and all the furniture with him. 23 years later, the son was mobilized and killed. The father, who had been missing for so long, immediately showed up. But not to mourn, but to file a claim for a share of the colossal death benefit. The mother, naturally, was livid, sued. He never bought our son a single chocolate bar. Now, he wants his blood money. She even said her son hated his father to the core. The legal loophole is that Russian law stipulates biological parents automatically inherit the money, unless they were legally stripped of parental rights beforehand. Since the soldier's mother had never filed to terminate his parental rights legally, this scumbag father is still entitled to the money. Thousands of such zombie fathers are stirring, flocking to military offices to collect gifts from their son's demise. The government's headache and patching efforts. The Russian government, the creator of this game, is now trapped in its own reward scheme. In 2024 to 2025, Russia's military personnel costs are projected to hit a record 2 trillion rubles. Where will they find the money to pay for it all? The overly high rewards to attract volunteer soldiers have created a Cobra effect. Instead of just attracting patriots, it's also attracting opportunists, sham marriages, and family tragedies. To cope with the budget bleed and fraud, the Russian government has acted. First, changing the injury compensation law. In November 2024, President Putin signed a decree changing the calculation method. Previously, an injury meant an automatic 3 million rubles. Now, the injury must be severe to get 3 million. A minor one only gets 1 million, and an extremely minor one only 100,000 rubles. The consequence: military doctors are pressured to downgrade the severity of injuries in reports. Soldiers are wounded, but the paperwork only records a scratch to save the state money. The bill to punish black widows. The Liberal Democratic Party of Russia proposed up to 10 years in prison for the act of entering into a sham marriage with a serviceman. But the problem is, how does a judge distinguish between wartime love at first sight and a gold-digging contract? Love is an abstract concept, but a marriage certificate is law. It's incredibly difficult to prove motive in these cases. On social media, blacklist groups have begun to emerge, shaming women suspected of marrying soldiers for money. This is a form of brutal public court, where women's honor is trampled regardless of their guilt. We need to summon the great novelist Lev Tolstoy from the 19th century to comment. If Tolstoy were to be resurrected and scroll through TikTok, watching clips unboxing a lot bought with death benefits, he would surely write a part 2 to War and Peace titled War and Currency. In War and Peace, the character Helene Kuragina is the perfect embodiment of opportunism, coldness, and greed. She is an aristocrat, breathtakingly beautiful, with seductive bare shoulders, yet inside, she is hollow and cruel. She marries Pierre Bezukov, the clumsy, rich simpleton, not for love, but for his colossal fortune. She cheats, manipulates, and sees marriage as a way to climb the ranks of high society. Today's black widows are these Elena Kuragina, the provincial version. Instead of aristocratic tea parties in St. Petersburg, they operate on Tinder and at recruitment offices. The goal is not an inheritance from a count, but the state insurance package from the life of a modern-day peer, the innocent or poor and desperate soldier. Lev Tolstoy once wrote, "Let the dead bury their dead, but while I am alive, I must live and be happy." This quote is being grossly and ridiculously distorted on Russian social media today. Tolstoy's original intent was to embrace life, to overcome suffering and find spiritual meaning, but today it is understood as, the husband is gone, and the task of what's left behind is to bring happiness money, allotted to the living, which is me. The sanctity of sacrifice that Russian literature once celebrated is now being reduced to naked material transactions. Death has been turned into a commodity. The story of the Russian Black Widows is not just drama for us to casually gossip about. It is a mirror reflecting a society that is being violently warped and deformed by war and economic pressure. Can the Russian government halt this wave by slashing the bonuses? Will the next set of peers escape the love traps of the new Elenas? Or will everyone continue to spin in the vortex of the meat grinder and fresh rubles? The answer remains open for a movie without an ending. We only know that somewhere in vast Russia, white Ladas are still rolling on muddy roads, carrying both material joy and an unspeakable spiritual pain.